Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the article and video that I do for comicbookinvest.com, where I talk about those books that you can still probably find tucked away in those cheap boxes, those dollar bins, those discount boxes, wherever you're doing your cheap comic book pickups, whether they be at flea markets, yard sales, your LCS, half-price books, things like that. These are the types of books you can still probably find based off of some of the recent rumors, announcements, things going on in the actual comics, etc. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you hit the alert button so you don't miss any of the content that's dropping almost every day here. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel. Check out our Discord. And if you haven't given Whatnot a try, now's your chance to give it a shot. First-time users get a free $15 on me to buy whatever you want from whomever you want. No strings attached. First-time users, $15. Just sign up down below and get yourself something nice. And you'll also be helping out the channel. With that all said, I got a few interesting things to talk about this week as far as the cheap books go, so just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. Okie dokie. So for this week, let's start off as we usually do with some of the things that we saw going on in the news this week. One of which we got some news / rumors that DC's developing a Human Target project based on Tom King's comic book run. Now, Human Target's been around for a while, and just because they're developing a show doesn't mean it's actually going to come to fruition. I would say it's better than an option. So there's a better chance that we might see it than just regular old option news, but nothing can be counted on 100% yet. That said, it's still an interesting topic and an interesting character, and one, as I said, that goes back a ways. So let's go back to the Human Target. What is it? Christopher Chance, I think is his actual name. But he showed up way, way back before I was even born, back in 1972 in Action Comics number 419. Now, I'm not saying you're going to find this in a dollar bin. I'm just giving you this book for informational purposes because this thing can do all right. You can still probably find it relatively cheap in certain places depending on condition, but I just want to give you that first appearance information because I know you guys like to know that sort of thing. So here you can see it's almost like a little backup story kind of preview for the Human Target here. Yeah, Christopher Chance. I did remember. It's in the back of this issue of Action Comics. So it's not part of the Superman story that's in this book. It's kind of like a backup feature. And there he is right there. So the Human Target, pretty cool. As I mentioned, not a dollar book, but you never know. Copies have sold for anywhere from $30 to $75 recently, depending on condition. You can see that $30 was like for a good, very good copy, where a little bit of a higher grade got $75. Asking prices, same kind of deal, depending on condition. Very goods are looking at $35. Even a poor condition is looking for $50. But depending on condition, you're going to have to pay a little bit extra for this book. And again, who knows what you might find out there? Sure, you might find a torn cover or a ripped up cover or something like that for $1. And you might even get lucky and find the actual book for $1. I don't know. I don't know how your shop stacked their back issue bins or what you might stumble across at a yard sale or a flea market. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about here. Just good information to know that this is the first appearance of the character. But be that as it may, this isn't the one I think you'll have a good shot at getting. You got probably a better shot of getting that Tom King run that they mentioned is going to be the basis for this series. So let's look at that because that's only a couple years old. Tom King run, it was a 12-issue series, started in 2021. Some really cool covers here. I don't know, if you like that kind of throwback, pulpy type art, there's a lot of good stuff here. This is issue 1, and I'll show you a few others just to kind of catch my eye with issue 2. You got the negative space thing going there. You got like an old like pulp novel there on book 5, and then Guy Gardner there on book 6. And then a couple, look at that, Batman's really nice little throwback, as is the one on there, issue 7. And as I mentioned, it goes through 12 issues, so book 12 is that last issue. And Tom King, Greg Smallwood, Fun read too, if you want to give this a read as well. I mean, that's what comics are for, after all. But if you want to go and collect some of these to get ready for that potential series, now would be a good time to go and start digging for these things. Now, you might not find it for a buck. I know dollar bins are getting fewer and far between, but the point of this series is to tell you to look for things for cheap, whether it be a dollar box, $2 box, half off a cover, whatever sort of discount digging you can go and do. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about here. And this particular series, you can see individual copies could still be right around that cover price of like $5 or $6, and then full runs might only be 50, and then partial runs, issues 1 through 6, best offer on $25. Sometimes that's how the best way you can get a deal is buying either the set or partial lots and then filling it out from there. Asking prices, meanwhile, full runs are looking currently for about 65. So once again, that's still right about cover for these books. If you figure 5 times 12, that's $60. It's not really much of a premium, especially if you can get free shipping there. And then individual issues, if you can't get the full run, you can fill out here or there. But again, check what you can find at your shop, because shops are going to be different than what you see online. It's again, it's a completely different animal. It's the way that a shop earns money is not the same way that people buying and shipping online, etc. Because you don't have to worry about shipping costs, etc. So if you find it in hand, you got a better chance of securing some of these fun books if you're lucky enough to find them. With that said, that's our first news story for this week. And our next one is another bit of DC news. Yeah, we actually have DC stuff to talk about this week. And that is all more from James Gunn, who's not only celebrating Hawkgirl's anniversary, but he reveals which iteration that Isabella Merced, if I'm saying her name right, is playing in the upcoming DCU movies. I think she's going to be in Superman, his Superman flick. So he did confirm that as we expected, the version of Hawkgirl we're going to get is going to be Kendra Saunders. So she's the newer version. We're not going all the way back or anything like that. This only goes back to 1999. So Secret Files, JSA Origins. This book, again, it's been on that spec cycle before. It's been up and down, back and around. So this is one of those books that if you don't recognize the cover here, I guess, I don't know what to tell you, because this one has been there before because of Hawkgirl. And you can see her there, right there on the cover. So I don't need to open this up and give you all that, rigmarole. But she's right there on the cover inside this book, her first appearance. This book right now, currently selling anywhere from $10 to $15. And some of those include extra comics as well. So it's not just $10 to $15 for this, but you might also get yourself a Hawkgirl 1 or an All-Star Comics reprint. So that's not too bad. It's not too bad when you look at it that way. And available copies can be as cheap as $8, right around that $15 mark, which is kind of where this has been for a while, $15 to $20. Again, up and down, or as high as $40. So somebody looking for $40 on one of these seems to be more one of the higher asks, whereas $8 is on the cheaper side of things. So maybe you find one somewhere in between, or maybe you get lucky and you still pull this out of a cheap box somewhere. That all said, let's get into the comics now. For those of you like me who like reading these things, there's a lot of fun stuff that we can look into beyond what we're reading week to week. So if you're reading or seeing some of these covers this week, I'm going to help you find some of these, where these characters might have first appeared, etc. So I've been covering these Infinity Gem covers lately because once somebody pointed out, I forget who it was now, but pointed out to me that these characters have been around before. Now I've gotten in the habit of looking them up. So now I'm looking for all of these newer characters because, again, I wasn't fully aware because I wasn't reading these current Infinity War event books because I just was tired. Like ever since the actual movie with Infinity War and Endgame, I've just been kind of Infinity Gemmed out as far as Marvel stuff goes. Though I used to love it. Like that was one of the original stories that really got me into comics way back in the day. The original Infinity Gauntlet with, the Thanos quest and all that stuff. I loved that stuff. Silver Surfer was one of my favorites and still one of my favorite characters. But got a little tired lately, so I didn't keep up with these Infinity stories, Wolverine and the Infinity Watch, etc. Going back, probably going to give these a read one of these days. But all that said, the book I'm showing you here is one of the Stormbreakers covers that came out this week. I forget which book this is. Anyway, Moondragon on the cover there, along with the current Mind Stone holder, who is going to be World Mind? Not exactly the Nova World Mind, I don't think, but we don't know a lot about this character yet because this character actually hasn't appeared yet. So this week's cover is kind of a first cover appearance for this character because we'll find out more in August when Incredible Hulk and in the Infinity Watch, this annual comes out. This August. So we'll find out more about this World Mind character then. So that's one of the covers that came out this week. The other cover is one of my favorites. I was a big fan of Pip the Troll back in the day. He got to hold one of the gems for a while. In this case, it's the Space Gem, who he is going to be handing it off, or has handed it off already, to this Quantum character, who I believe started off as a villain and might still be kind of villainous. It's a different age. It's a different tale. It's a different story with the current stone holders. But Quantum is a character that first showed up as a Miles Morales villain, as they were building out Miles' rogues gallery, because they didn't want to just duplicate and have him face all the Peter Parker's foes. So they've been creating a rogues gallery for Miles, and it's growing. It is growing. Quantum was one that they made back in June of 2019 in issue 7 of I think this is the last Miles Morales Superman run, Legacy issue 247 for the character. But inside this book, we do get introduced to this Quantum character there. Boom. So there he is, front and center. And this book has done okay in the past. You can see here, it's a book that you might be able to get a few bucks for. $7.50, $10, $11, best offer on 15. So you're not going to get rich, but it is a fun little find, especially if you can find it for cover price or less. Asking prices currently are $18 to $25, so it's a little bit more than normal. So it could be a fun little book for you to go and pull out of an old box, old back issue bin for cheap if you can find it. Yeah, and like I said, it's tying into a cover that we've seen recently, and we should see more from these characters going forward. But until we do, it's all just kind of pure speculation and hopes. So we'll see what happens. Still a fun book for you to go and find, and I kind of like this cover, by the way. Just saying. With that, the next book that came out with the Infinity Stones was a full-on Infinity Gauntlet with Thanos, and you had Nick Fury Jr. on the cover. Yes, the Sam Jackson-esque looking one, but in the 616 Marvel Universe, they retconned it as Nick Fury having a son, Nick Fury Jr., and he changed his name, all that stuff. Whatever. We're not going to get into all that, but I know you remember this character. I know you remember when they were putting this all through and putting this all together, because that, again, hit that spec cycle before, and this book used to be worth something. Now, nobody seems to care about Battle Scars #1. Also, early appearances of Phil Coulson in the Marvel comic books. I believe he went by the name of Cheese in this. No, not Jeremy Piven's character from Old School, but Cheese. And eventually Nick Fury Jr. But here, inside, again, Nick Fury Jr. going home. His mom had passed, funeral, and the whole story kind of plays out, etc. But this is him before he gets the eye patch and before he starts to grow his nice little goatee. Point being, a book that used to be something. Again, this thing, I think, used to be at least 30 or 40 bucks at one time. For a while, it was an easy 15 to 20. Now, copies are selling for $3.84, $2.99. Best offers on $5. So it's very, very cheap right now. Very, very cheap. Copies listed as little as $2.50, as high as $15. And you can see how different people sell this. First appearance of Phil Coulson and Nick Fury Jr. Some people list it that way, some people don't. Because originally Marcus Johnson, eventually became Nick Fury Jr. I don't know. Still a fun book that you can go and dig and hunt for. It's one of those offshoot Marvel titles that usually gets thrown into boxes as filler because, again, it had its day in the sun. I don't know if it's ever going to get that day back, but in case it does, it doesn't hurt to go and look for one for cheap. With that said, another book out this week is Invincible Iron Man #19. This is, I believe, the penultimate issue of this run. I think it's ending with issue 20. They're kind of teasing something. I guess, I don't know if Tony and Emma are going to last or what, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But new this week, this War Machine War Machine showing up, obviously, in this issue. They show up in a bar that has a ton of villains in it. There's a lot of characters here that we can look at. I mean, and I'm sure you can see like Rhino and some of these other minor characters in the back there. But just for fun, I want to point out a couple that I spotted in here that I think are fun little characters. Again, these are quick cameos in this book. I'm not saying they're big doings coming for these characters at all. It's just kind of a fun reminder. Again, if you read comics and enjoy comics, some of this stuff can just be for fun. And again, my scavenger hunt type challenge for you to go and find the human fly. Yep, right here. Part of his face. That's the human fly or the fly. He's been around a while. Yeah, not the most attractive character in the world, but it is what it is. And this is the current iteration of him, because when he first showed up, he was just a dude in a suit. Wasn't that bad. And that was an Amazing Spider-Man annual number 10 way back. I'm sorry, that's not the right date. I forgot to update the date. But this book has been around a while. So Amazing Spider-Man number 10 from 1976 or thereabouts. But anyway, this book you can see sells for 12 to 15 bucks. So it's not super cheap, but it's not super expensive either. And copies listed as little as $5, $12, $15. So you can see there's cheap ones even to be found out there. They might not be in the best condition, but sometimes that's good enough if you just want to get a copy for your own collection and just say, you know what, I got myself a first appearance of the Human Fly, and I got it for only $2 out of this back issue bin. And yeah, just be happy you found something fun. With that said, another character that's kind of lingering there in the background. This guy got, I don't want to say hot, but he also got notoriety for a semi-recent appearance in the She-Hulk TV show. And you can see him back there with the horns. Yep, that's him right there. That's Man Bull. And yeah, with his She-Hulk appearance, people started going back and looking for his first appearance because they thought it would be fun to do so. And that's the point. Realistically, just because a character shows up in a TV show or even in a movie for a few seconds, or even if it's longer than a few seconds, does that all really matter? All it is just a reminder. It's a reminder that these characters exist and they are still out there, and it makes this hobby fun. Like, it doesn't mean just because he showed up for a couple of minutes in a She-Hulk TV show that the character is now all of a sudden more important than he was yesterday or whatever, or because he shows up in this comic. It's just, again, a fun reminder. These characters are still out there. Maybe they get another storyline somewhere down the line that builds their profile up a little bit further. Maybe they don't. Point being, it's still a fun character to go and hunt for. And that, again, is Man Bull. Been around a while, going all the way back to Daredevil back in 1971, issue 78. Not on the cover here, despite his name being dropped on the cover. Inside, we get, this, well, again, not an attractive character. It is what it is. It looks like a big troll goblin of some sort. But yeah. Man Bull, Minotaur, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. It's character. That said, again, Daredevil 78 is not a book you're often going to find at a dollar bin, but it's good to know. It's good information to have, and it's actually not as expensive as you might think. Copy sold at auction for $5. Yes, 16. One sold for 35. Yes, there are some more expensive copies, but look, $5 at auction. That's another thing. Just because I'm telling you to go dig in boxes, not to rely on online, sometimes you can find things cheap even online. Take a chance at an auction because no one else cares, and there's not going to be a lot of bid, especially if it's an auction, not going to be a lot of bids. Like, not a lot of people looking for Man Bull right now. But right now, what I found, $13, $14, $24. So it is what it is. It's a book that if you find it for cheap enough, you might be able to make a couple of bucks. Otherwise, again, you just got to show a fun first appearance of an oddball Marvel villain that maybe we see again, maybe we don't. Who knows? Okay, that's been a bit of Marvel. Let's pivot on back to DC for a moment and look at this week's recent issue of Catwoman. So Catwoman number 66. Good run of Nakayama covers here on this run. I mean, she's been in space, doing a lot of crazy things. But here, we're kind of back down to earth. This is 9 Lives, part 8. So part of an ongoing story. We could have talked about some of these characters prior to now, but I don't know. I just randomly picked this book to kind of cover for this purpose, because there's some characters in here that have been showing up in this title lately that maybe you forgot about, and maybe you can go and find their first for next to nothing. One is on the cover. And you can see him right there, and that is the Flamingo. Yep, right back there. He's a villain from the Grant Morrison Batman and Robin run. Eduardo Flamingo, very flamboyant, creepy ass character. I think he ate somebody's face when he debuted. But yeah, that's what we're talking about. Uh, he showed up way back in 2009, October 2009, at Batman and Robin #5. Again, Morrison. I think this is a quietly cover. Pretty cool run. A lot of characters. I think Professor Pig also rolled out of this era. And you got the Flamingo, who again showed up at the back end of this issue. This is issue 5. He rolls up like Prince in Purple Rain with a whip and a creepy look on his face. And like I said, I think he ate somebody's face in this issue. Or at least they inferred that he did. This book doesn't do all that much. Look, copy selling for under $2, $1.76, $1.96, $1.89. Yeah, you could find this thing for cheap. Asking prices, well, the asking prices are a bit higher. They're looking for $2 to $3. So, I mean, there's that. Point being, if you want a cheap first, he's there. Call it a cameo, call whatever you want. Just know what's inside. He does show up. They show him at a table eating a face. So you get that at least. And if you want the next book, which is where you get them on the cover, because I know a lot of people only like to collect characters and first appearances if they're on the cover, then this is the more shocking cover. I mean, you get that nice pink, it's very bright, very vibrant, and he's flamingo, so it stands out. That's issue 6. And because of that, and because he's on the cover, this one goes for a couple of bucks more, as you can see here. Not a lot, $2.50 to $4. But that's what I said, a couple of bucks more. The other one was $2. This goes up to $4. But it also has a little bit higher asks here. As you can see, some copies, yes, are still very cheap for $3. There's some $10 asks. And then look, somebody even has one with a newsstand starting an auction at $25, but they're really looking for that $65 mark. Because again, newsstands in this era aren't that easy to find. And some people like definitely collecting them, not only collecting just any newsstand from the era, but especially a first appearance of a character, because it definitely makes it more unique and tougher. So keep an eye out for those barcodes down below, as yeah, they can make you a few dollars more. And check your own copy, because you never know. And how do you tell the difference? Well, most of the time you can see the direct edition says direct edition. I don't have images to show you, whereas the newsstands gonna have the bigger barcode and not give you much detail with it. But apart from Eduardo Flamingo showing up in this issue of Catwoman, we also got a character who I think has been hanging around helping Selena for a while, and that is Savage, right here. I think they're like roommates in this issue here. They're sharing a space. But Scandal Savage has been around a while, and it's kind of been that kind of go-between type of character. And that was a great thing, especially about this series where she was introduced. You kind of have a little bit some villainous tendencies. I mean, she is related to one of the big DC villains with maintaining the Savage name. But she first showed up in Villains United back in 2005. Underrated run. Gail Simone, I think Dale Eaglesham did the art on this. I like this run. I like these types of stories where you have that kind of a hodgepodge team put together. And you got some hero. They're villains, but they also kind of toe that line. They're in betweeners a little bit, and I like those types of teams, like Secret Six, etc. But Villains United, #1, July. Well, that says July on the cover, but it was May of 2005 when it came out. And inside the book, she's got a big part. It's not just like one panel. She is kind of helped collecting the team. I think she's trying to recruit Catman here with Deadshot. And yeah, but this is her sitting there at the table. And again, this is a book you could find out there. I found this plenty of times. $2, you can find the whole run for $6 to $12. I suggest if you can get the run, get it, because like I said, it was a decent little read. And then individual copies are still only seeking $2 to $3. So you're not going to get rich if you find it, but it doesn't hurt to find yourself a fun first appearance and tuck it away in a box in case something more substantial happens with the character. You never know, especially the adapter. If they adapt her in the new DC universe, everybody's going to want this book. But for now, you can just go get it for fun. And again, tie it in with what you're reading in the actual books, today. One more. I think I got one more for you. And I was going to cover this, I think, 2 weeks ago with the first issue of Wolverine Blood Hunt, but I didn't do a dollar bin digging that week because I just ran out of time. So I just kind of saved it in my back pocket for issue 2. So here we go. Now she's on the cover. I mean, she showed up again in the first issue of this mini tied to Blood Hunt, but right there on the cover, riding with Wolverine. And inside, we have her right here. It's Louise, his comrade Louise, female vampire hunter. Yes, so Blade is not the only vampire hunter out there. We also have Louise, who also goes by the name of Night Guard, and she's been around for a little bit, not a ton of time, but going back to the start of the current Wolverine run with Wolverine #1 back in 2020. Yes, she shows up here in this one, so it's definitely still part of Percy's run, but it was at the start. And here she is inside this book. Is where we get to meet Louise. And again, gonna end up going by Night Guard. And yeah, find out she's a vampire who hunts vampires. So, with that said, this is a book heavily printed, so there's plenty of copies out there. Copies still sell for about $10, so you can see that multiple covers as well. And then copies listed $7 to $9, so $7 to $10. You don't want to talk about $5 to $10 book is what you're basically working with here. Nothing huge, but who knows down the line, who knows? And I could have left it at that, but I saw one more character in here that I thought was also kind of fun. And that is her right here, Alyssa. She was the leader of this group of vampires, I think the Sirens, like these female vampires. But here she's also kind of still playing that little bit of a role. We're in the middle of Blood Hunt, so any vampire character from Marvel's past has been rolling in and showing up in this series, and I think that's a great idea, and I think it's kind of fun. But yeah, that's what we got in here. You're gonna have to excuse the rest of the deck because I didn't do all the proper updates before I decided doing this, but that is Alyssa. Pay no attention to the name cipher there. This is Alyssa. That's her. She first shows up in this book, which is correct, and it is from July 2010. This is the Heroic Age Death of Dracula book. Talked about this one shot before. And yeah, she shows up here with her little coven of or cadre of female vampires at some point. But there it is. She's with Dracula's son Xeris, who also first shows up in this book. So you got Xeris and Alyssa, so it's a multiple first appearance type of book. And like I said, there she is right there. But as I'm doing this, I remembered I didn't go and pull the prices because this one actually does a little bit. This one could be like a $10 to $20 book, but just go and take a look for it because who knows what you might find out there. To pay no attention to that, we're skimming through it because I didn't update it properly. I freely admit it was a busy day, and I just wanted to get out some content for you and get something out there before doing the Hot 10. And with that all said, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for checking that out. Sorry, I got a little shaky there at the end, but I'll tweak it for the next time and make sure I got it a little cleaned up. But make sure you check out all the other content here on the channel. Check out those links below. Look at a membership. You get some of the content early. Look at joining the Discord so you can chat and share your pickups with other viewers and other members of the channel and on the other panels here on Rennavision. And if you haven't tried Whatnot, now is your chance to do it with a free $15. Because again, it's $15 for free. That's all you got to do. There's no other strings attached. You don't got to do anything else. You can just take your $15, spend your $15, and walk away and never do anything again. That's up to you. Just give it a try. That's all I'm saying. And with that said, thanks again, and I'll see you all later with some more content. All right, bye.